The rest stop that wasn't there. You ever pull off the highway late at night and feel like you've stepped into a place that shouldn't exist? That happened to me last winter, and I'm still not sure if I drove into a nightmare or if I left part of myself there. I was driving home from visiting my parents for the holidays. It was late, almost 1 a.m., and the stretch of interstate I was on was one of those long, empty ribbons of road that feels like it's floating in darkness. No streetlights, no other cars, just the dull hum of my tires and the occasional green exit sign whipping past. I'd been on the road for hours. My coffee was gone, my eyes were starting to sting, and the heater had me feeling sluggish. That's when I saw it, the glowing blue sign for a rest area. It said, "Next right. 2 miles." I don't know why I felt relieved. Maybe it was the idea of stretching my legs, maybe grabbing a vending machine snack, or just getting out of the isolation for a few minutes. Either way, I flicked on my turn signal when the ramp came up. The rest stop looked new, not just clean. Brand new. Bright white lights lit up the parking lot, and the asphalt didn't even have cracks. There were about 6 cars parked, but I didn't see anyone walking around. I parked under one of the lights and stepped out. The air was colder than I expected, biting cold, even though the forecast said it would be mild. The building was a simple rectangle, big glass doors, and a glowing sign that just said, "Welcome." Inside, it smelled faintly of pine, and something else I couldn't quite place. Not bad, just unfamiliar. The vending machines were spotless, and the drinks inside looked like they'd been placed there moments ago. The bathrooms were pristine. No graffiti, no chipped paint. Everything felt too perfect. I remember thinking it was weird that there wasn't a single person inside, despite the cars outside. Then I noticed something else. The clock above the information board wasn't moving. The second hand was frozen at the 12. I pulled out my phone to check the time, but it was dead. It had been at 70% just 20 minutes earlier. I tried to shake it off. Maybe there was a bad signal. Maybe my phone had some weird glitch. But as I walked back toward the entrance, I noticed the glass doors didn't show my reflection dot. It's hard to describe the feeling that washed over me in that moment. It wasn't fear exactly. More like my body just realized something my mind hadn't caught up to yet. Something was wrong here. When I stepped outside, the lot seemed emptier. 2 of the cars that had been there before were gone. But I never heard engines start, never saw headlights. I started walking faster toward my car. That's when I heard footsteps behind me slow, even, following me. I turned my head, and there was a man, maybe 30 feet away, wearing a faded denim jacket. His face was off, like his features didn't sit right on his skull. Eyes too far apart, mouth too wide, skin just slightly too smooth. He didn't say anything, just kept walking toward me with that slow, deliberate pace. I practically dove into my car, locking the doors instantly. When I looked up, he was only a few feet from my window, and he was smiling. Not a normal smile. This one stretched almost ear to ear, showing too many teeth. I threw the car into reverse and sped toward the exit ramp. When I glanced in the rearview mirror, the rest stop wasn't there. No building, no parking lot, just a dark, empty patch of road leading into trees. Back on the interstate, my phone suddenly flickered on, full signal, battery back at 68%. I checked the map. The nearest rest stop in that direction, 30 miles away. No exits in between. To do. This day, I don't know where I stopped that night. But sometimes, on long drives, I see blue signs glowing faintly on the side of the road, and I never, ever take the exit. If you're driving late at night and see a rest stop that seems a little too perfect, keep going. Because sometimes, they're waiting for you to pull over. And if you do, you might not come back. Mile marker 313. If you ever see the same hitchhiker in different states, miles, even hundreds of miles apart, don't stop. Because sometimes they're not trying to get to a destination. They're trying to get back to you. I've been driving trucks for over 15 years. You see a lot out there on the highways, accidents, strange weather, weird roadside attractions. But nothing I've seen before or since compares to what started happening last spring. I was on a long haul, Kansas to Nevada, hauling equipment. It was about 3 a.m., a dead stretch of US 50, also called the loneliest road in America. I'd been fighting to keep my eyes open, so I was scanning the roadside, trying to stay alert. That's when I saw him, a man maybe late 20s, standing just past mile marker 313. Tall, thin, wearing a gray hoodie and jeans. He wasn't moving, just staring straight ahead, arms limp at his sides. Not even holding out a thumb like most hitchhikers dot as I passed. His head turned. Not his shoulders, not his body, just his head, until his chin was almost over his shoulder, following me with his eyes. I got this instant, crawling feeling in my gut. I've picked up hitchhikers before, but there was something wrong with this guy, something about the way he turned. Like his neck didn't have the same limits ours do. I shook it off and kept driving. 2 days later, I was in Arizona on a totally different route. Middle of the night again. I glanced to my right as I passed a green mile marker sign, mile 313. And there he was. Same gray hoodie, same thin frame. Same head turning, too far stare as my truck passed. I swear to you, there's no way it could have been the same man in the same spot. This was hundreds of miles away. From that night on, I started seeing him every trip. Not every night, but often enough that it felt like a pattern. Always by a mile marker that read 313. Different states, different weather. Same. Man, it got to the point where I started taking alternate routes just to avoid those signs. And it worked for a while. Then one rainy night in Texas, I pulled into a truck stop around 2 a.m. I was dead tired, parked under one of those buzzing yellow sodium lights, and started filling out my logbook. That's when I heard it. A slow, wet dripping sound on the passenger side of my cab. I leaned over to look out the window and froze. Standing just inches from the glass was the man in the gray hoodie. Hood pulled up, face shadowed, water dripping from the ends of his sleeves. But I could still see his eyes, pale, almost white, staring right into mine. I don't remember unlocking the door. I don't remember opening it, but somehow he was gone. I slammed the locks back down, shaking so bad I could barely hold the steering wheel. I drove until sunrise without stopping. When I got home a few days later, I told my buddy, another trucker, about what happened. He didn't laugh. He just asked me one question. Did you ever hear about the 313 rule? I told him no. He said some drivers believe certain mile markers, especially 313, are cursed. Places where someone died in a crash or where time folds. And if you see the same hitchhiker there more than once, it means they've marked you, I thought. He was just messing with me. Until a week later, I woke up in my own bed, reached for my phone, and saw a text. No number, no name. Just a single message. Next trip, I'm coming inside. I haven't driven past mile 313 since. But sometimes when I'm parked for the night, I wake up to the sound of slow, wet dripping. And I know he's still looking for a way in. If you ever pass mile marker 313 and see someone standing there, staring at you, don't look back. Because once you see them twice, they'll follow you forever. The tailgater you ever drive at night and realize the car behind you isn't just going the same way. They're following you? That happened to me once, and I swear, I think they're still out there. I was a sophomore in college when this happened. It was a Friday night, and I was driving home from visiting a friend about 2 towns over. It was one of those late winter nights where the air outside your car feels heavier than normal, cold, still, and muffled. The roads were empty, except for the occasional semi, and I was already a little uneasy because my gas light had come on about 15 minutes back. The highway I was on was mostly straight, cutting through open farmland. No street lights, just the glow of my own headlights and the endless black beyond. That's when I saw the high beams in my rearview mirror at first. I didn't think much of it. Cars come and go, right? But whoever it was stayed right behind me. Not close enough to be dangerous, but close enough that I couldn't ignore it. And those high beams, they never dimmed. I changed lanes expecting them to pass. They didn't. I slowed down. They slowed down. I sped up. They sped up. That's when the first real spike of fear hit. It wasn't a coincidence. They were mirroring me. About 10 minutes went by like this. My stomach in knots, my hands gripping the wheel. So hard they ached. I considered calling 911, but I didn't know what to even say. Hey, someone's being creepy behind me? So I decided to take an exit I didn't normally take, just to see if they'd follow. The ramp curved sharply, and when I came out, the other side onto a smaller road. The high beams were still there, closer now. Too close. I hit the gas, my little sedan whining in protest as I pushed it. The road was narrow, lined with tall trees, and the headlights behind me seemed to stretch and distort between the trunks, like they were breathing. That's when I remembered something my dad told me once. If someone's following you, don't lead them to where you live. Go somewhere public. Somewhere with lights. The problem? There was nothing but dark road ahead. About 5 minutes later, I spotted what looked like a gas station up ahead, one flickering sign glowing in the distance. Relief washed over me. I pulled in fast, slamming my door open and stepping out, thinking maybe I could make it inside before they got out of their car. But when I turned around, there was no car, no tailgater, no headlights disappearing down the road. Nothing. I just stood there, staring at the empty road, feeling stupid and shaken at the same time. The gas station itself was even creepier up close, dusty windows. No lights inside, and the pumps looked like they hadn't worked in decades. There was no way this place was open. The hair on the back of my neck stood straight up. Something wasn't right. I got back in my car and took off. About 20 minutes later, I made it back to the highway. The adrenaline had worn off just enough for me to start questioning what I'd seen. Maybe they turned off somewhere and I just didn't notice. Maybe the gas station was abandoned and I'd just been too freaked out to think straight. I kept telling myself that, until I pulled into my apartment parking lot. That's when I saw them, the same headlights, the same high beams. Not behind me this time, but parked 2 rows ahead, facing me. They were waiting. I didn't stick around to find out what would happen next. I drove straight to my friend's place across town and slept there. To this day, I've never seen that car again. But every time I drive at night, I check my mirrors more than I should, and sometimes I think I see a pair of high beams in the distance, just far enough to make me wonder if they're coming back. If you ever notice a car matching your every move, don't go home, because you might not be the only one who knows where you live. The overpass. Sometimes you pass under an overpass and see someone standing up there, watching the road. If you ever see them twice in the same night, you need to leave that highway immediately. I was driving back from a work trip late one Thursday night. I'd taken a different route home because the main interstate was shut down for construction. This road was narrow, 2 lanes each way, with occasional overpasses where smaller roads crossed above. It was just after midnight, When I saw the first one, there was a man standing dead center on the overpass above me. He was wearing a long black coat, and I couldn't see his face, just a dark silhouette against the faint orange glow of distant town lights. His head followed my car as I passed under, like he was tracking me. It was unnerving, but I told myself he was probably just some drunk waiting for a ride. I drove on. About 10 minutes later, I came to another overpass, and my stomach dropped. The same man was standing there. Same coat, same way his head turned to follow my car. Now I was rattled. There was no way he could have gotten there before. Me unless he drove, but I hadn't seen a single other vehicle since I'd left the last town. The third time I saw him was when I knew I had to get off that road. It had been maybe 15 more minutes, and up ahead, another overpass. And there he was again, only this time he wasn't alone. 2 more figures stood beside him, their faces completely covered by white featureless masks. All 3 of them turned their heads in unison as I passed under. I floored it, looking for an exit, any way off this cursed stretch of road. But every time I passed under another overpass, there were more of them. First 3, then 5. Then an entire row, all masked, all watching. The last one I passed under. They were leaning over the railing, hands outstretched like they were reaching for me. When I finally saw an off-ramp, I didn't care where it led. I took it, tore down a side street, and didn't stop until I saw the lights of a 24-hour diner. When I glanced in my rearview mirror, the overpass I'd just come from wasn't there anymore. Just an unbroken stretch of dark woods. If you're driving at night and keep seeing the same person on the overpasses, don't stay on that road, because eventually, they won't just be watching. The wrong exit. Highways at night can feel endless, until you take the wrong exit. And when you do, sometimes you end up in a place that doesn't want you to leave. I was moving cross-country last summer, taking the southern route to avoid snow. It was the middle of July, hot even at night, and I'd been driving for about 10 hours when I realized I'd missed my planned stop. My GPS rerouted me, telling me to take the next exit. I almost didn't notice how strange the sign looked. No town name, no road number, just the word exit. The ramp twisted down into pitch-black nothingness. No streetlights, no reflectors. Just my headlights cutting through the dark. At the bottom, the road split into 2 narrow lanes bordered by tall, dead corn stalks. I followed the GPS, but the map on the screen started flickering. Streets appearing and disappearing like static. And I saw the first house, if you could call it that. It was a sagging 1-story shack with broken windows and a door hanging by one hinge. But there was light inside, dim, yellow, and flickering. I tried to ignore it and keep going, but the further I drove, the more I realized. The same house kept appearing on both sides of the road, same shape, same broken windows, same flickering light. After the 4th or 5th one, I slowed to a crawl. That's when I noticed there were people in the windows, not moving, just standing there, staring out at me. Their faces were pale, stretched too tight over their skulls, mouths slightly open. I couldn't see their eyes, just black pits. I hit the gas, my tires kicking up dust, desperate to find a way back to the highway. The road ahead twisted and bent in ways that didn't make sense. Sharp turns that brought me back past the same houses, the same staring figures. Then up ahead, I saw another exit ramp. I didn't care if it was the right one, I took it. When I merged back onto the highway, my GPS came back online, showing me exactly where I should be. I looked in the rearview mirror just once, and saw the same pale faces lining the ramp. I'd just driven up, watching me, not moving. If you ever take an exit at night that doesn't list a town, turn around while you still can. because some roads don't lead anywhere you're meant to find.